working. Now, that's a surprise. Yeah, couldn't get the driver to work. Isn't become live yet. Oh, it looks like it is live. All right. Interesting. So the video driver wasn't working, so I reinstalled two different ones and they didn't work, and so I went back to the old one and now it's working. So the internet. So this should be the discussion live thing.
And what I want to do is just basically open this up for questions. So as questions start getting added to the chat window, we'll go through each one of them. Again, there are some things that I thought went really well with this experiment. Some things that I'd probably do a little bit differently. Some of those have already been mentioned in comments. So
Yeah, you lying fucker.
Yeah, let's talk about this. So
I mean, duh. Put a piece of clay on the cart.
One of the comments that just came up is there's a complaint about your prediction about losing half the velocity would only be relevant to an unelastic collision.
Yeah, you were full of shit. You got it wrong. Your prediction was wrong.
Did you mean half the energy or half the velocity?
You're too stupid to do physics.
In the elastic and inelastic cases, I'm going to make an extra trial on this just so we can kind of change some numbers on this, so we can see what the predictions
You openly
are. So
predicted.
We want to create another copy.
I don't know how to talk over him.
Sure, something like this. So, yeah, if I just set up some...
All right, this is just fake, so we'll just ignore it. Look, he predicted that if you put the same card at the same distance, same weight, at the same distance, it would come out 50-50. One car would bounce with 50% of the energy, the other car would move with 50%. That was his prediction, clearly wrong.
Or if we have an inelastic collision, something closer to clay where the object sticks on. That shouldn't be relevant because we test both of those cases. We have cases that are very close to having the...
I can pause him, so that's what I'll do. Just take the video longer, so that's not a problem. I didn't play the beginning. So this stupid Gosling moron says, I guess Gary's chief complaint about the prediction about losing half the velocity would only be relevant to an unelastic collision. Why would I said right from the very fucking beginning, I have no interest in unelastic collisions. The whole fucking point I made over and over again is the idea is to duplicate a Newton's cradle with the gigantic advantage that the velocity ratios are changed. Therefore, the lever makes it so it doesn't know that the masses aren't the same. The lever thinks they are the same masses. It's supposed to be a hard, elastic collision. I made that point over and over and over again, and you lying scum somehow couldn't hear it? I mean, do you people have any integrity at all? I just amazing. You are such fucking liars. And fucking mindless marble, you fucking lying sack of shit. You pointed out the exact problem, all right, to his fucking video where he did half the experiment, and you pointed out to him, well, couldn't you change the thing you're banging into something? You said pointy. I don't know what pointy would be. But obviously, the whole point is for it to be something hard. It's supposed to be a fucking elastic collision, not a fucking deformation collision. For fuck's sake, you recognize that point, and now you're playing this goddamn stupid game. You don't need fucking Velcro. That's the whole fucking point. I said it right in the video talking to him. I said the whole point is if you do this experiment right, you don't need any. And I proved that on my goddamn porch, okay? My porch didn't have any bounce back problem. I banged steel rods into the fucking thing and they didn't bounce anywhere. You fucking lie. And there was no Velcro. God, you people are such fucking liars.
We have cases very close to matching the completely elastic case when I was using the springs. And in the clay case, well, we lost a lot more velocity. We didn't lose all the velocity because I admit the clay was not making as completely inelastic a collision.
I mean, it's just so stupid. How the fuck could a physicist think you're trying to transfer the energy and it'd be a good idea to put some smushy thing in between the two objects? Like, that'll really help transfer the energy. I mean, if you want to transfer energy, the best way to do it is put some mushy shit in between the two objects. I mean, it's exactly the opposite is the truth. I mean, how could somebody get that wrong? I mean, it's implausible. And the whole point is the whole reason that clay is there is because he did bang the carts in with a harder surface. And guess what? His experiment wasn't working his way. It wasn't going his way.
As I was hoping it would. It wasn't fully sticking to that lever. And this is something that I'd like to kind of play around with in a future video. That if I want to have a system where it actually sticks to the lever, I'd have to change around some of the setup of the cart because...
So we know it doesn't need to stick, all right? So this is just a delusion that the lever is going to have some bounce back problem. It's not a spring. It's not some idea where you're putting something in between to create a pressure and then the pressure will expand both ways. None of that's necessary. The whole fucking point is that the lever takes care of all that because the deceleration is going to perfectly match the acceleration. The lighter object is going to be accelerated faster. The heavy object is going to decelerate slower. That's what the fucking lever is for, you fucking morons. So you don't need any fucking Velcro because there's no chance that it's going to bounce the fuck back. And your own experiment showed that because even with a spring on it, it didn't bounce back. Goddamn liars.
By the time it actually hits, in that sticking, it moves a little bit. So it's actually going to rotate, and that produces some side-to-side forces. So
that's an even more reason to say don't use Velcro, don't use clay, don't use anything. You don't need any medium between the lever and the contact. There's no problem with the metal hitting the metal.
Question that came up, why didn't I use Velcro instead? Well, the Velcro, as soon as it hits, as soon as that bar starts rotating, there are side-to-side forces. And this track doesn't allow for side-to-side forces. If side-to-side forces were applied, well, that would apply an external force on this cart.
Let's understand, he had a little spongy thing on the cart in the original video. All right, so he already had a little spongy thing. The little spongy thing had to be much better than the fucking blob of clay. So we went from spongy thing to blob of clay for some fucking reason. And the only fucking reason he went from spongy thing to blob of clay is because the experiment wasn't coming out his way. That shows this is all a rig. It's a fake, it's a fraud, it's a phony.
And if there's an external force, then our angular momentum is if there's an external torque, if there's an external torque, then the angular momentum is no longer going to be conserved. So in this particular setup, rather than trying for getting exactly an elastic collision, maybe by using magnets, or an exactly inelastic collision, maybe by using a larger bar and changing the setup so it actually Velcro to...
Well, let's just understand, I never suggested using springs. I opposed it from the very beginning. I said I have no interest in those experiments, do them, but I don't give a fuck. I also pointed out this has to be elastic, so there was no conversation between elastic and inelastic or any of that crap. I never suggested anything called an inelastic. So this is just such a fucking pile of shit. Mindless marbles, you lying sack of shit.
It and could actually rotate. Those are things that I would like to try in future videos, but the point that I was trying to make with this video isn't that I've got a perfectly elastic and a perfectly inelastic collision.
The point is Newton's cradle is fucking pretty much perfectly elastic. So why are we having this conversation? And the whole point is you did the experiment, even with a spring, okay, and yeah, you were able to convert the energy from one object to the other. So we know it's doable with a 10% loss to the lever. So what? Okay, so pretty doable. It's already been established you can do it. You don't need any sticky shit.
Point was that no matter what kind of collision I have, if there are no external torques, the total angular...
So this whole bullshit about this external torque crap is all nonsense based on their silly theory that somehow that fulcrum that doesn't move did move. No, it didn't move. The Earth didn't move. Nothing moved. It's just reflecting the energy. It has no interest in taking any of the energy. It's all another big fat pile of crap that this has something to do with some other fucking goddamn energy source. There's no other energy source. You're containing the energy in the system. Just such a fucking pile of shit.
Angular momentum should match. Now, as part of this, it is still worth going through what is our elastic case and what is our inelastic case, completely inelastic case. Because those give us bounds on, if I do any actual physical collision, our results should be in between those two bounds. If we have...
Oh, fuck that. It should be, if you're using a goddamn spring, that's called super elastic. It really fucking goddamn should match elastic. Super elastic should match elastic. And the fact that your experiment doesn't work is because you fucked it up, not because it can't happen.
An elastic collision, so using the springs, then the velocities we get should be closer to that elastic case. When we change to the inelastic case, again, it's not as close to the inelastic case as I was originally hoping, but it's definitely moving in that particular direction. Okay. So, yeah, I was never claiming that this particular setup will get exactly an inelastic case. I was saying it would be closer to that elastic case, that inelastic case when I'm using the clay than when I'm using, say, the spring bumpers. And going through these trials, well, we demonstrated that all of these trials, for both the spring cases and the clay cases, all of these trials we got velocities that were in those expected ranges for both cart 1 and for cart 2.
So this is just such a lie. So it's nothing like the experiment I described, nothing like the challenge I put. So it's just such a fucking lie. The clay experiments are useless. Half the energy is thrown away. They're useless. They can't tell you anything. All right, and the spring experiments are just redoing the spring experiments. The spring is a problem. It's not helping transfer the energy. It's delaying the transfer. It's ruining what the lever is doing. The lever is doing the converting. It's doing the slow deceleration, quick acceleration. It's doing the conversion. If you put a spring on it, it can't do the conversion because now you've delayed the transfer of the energy. I mean, bullshit on this whole fucking thing. What a pile of crap. I can't believe physicists cheat this way.
We did not have a single case that was outside of this range of what classical physics predicts. So, another thing about using the Velcro, and this is something that I would like to again expand on in a future video, probably a while later, because
look at this liar. I mean, Ian Gosling. Good job, by the way. Good job at what? I mean, I've posted 3 videos proving the quotes. I mean, clearly this is not the experiment I described. It is not the experiment I described. It is not the experiment I described. It is just a fake. God, you people are so fucking dishonest. I mean, just, god damn, I can't believe what scum science defenders are. Scum. Scummy fucking liars.
I'm kind of good on playing around with levers for at least for the moment. One of the things that would really help with getting the inelastic case would be to have a more heavier lever. Okay? The lever in this case, I wanted to make it very, very light, so that any measurement of the angular velocity of the lever, it does have an effect, but it's a minimal effect. So if I change this angular velocity of the lever, and
could somebody explain to me what the fucking point is of an inelastic case in any other circumstance than sticking? Not deforming, but just sticking. And again, as I pointed out, sticking isn't a problem. He has no evidence that anything bounces when you just bang it into the lever. There's no evidence that it just bounces off. So he doesn't have any evidence that that's a problem. I mean, this is all just fake. He knows that. He knows it because he did it and it didn't work for him. Period. It wasn't a video he could make.
See what effect that has on...
The truth was a problem.
The percent difference for both the conservation of angular momentum and the conservation of energy. If I change this from, say, 0.8 to, let's say, 0.6, it changes it by a few percent, but not very much. If
this angular momentum thing is such a canard, right? He's measuring the speed of the lever after the carts leave. It just couldn't make any difference. It's the loss. That's how much momentum you lost. That's all it shows you. It doesn't show you anything else. It's just amazing that he's pretending this is important.
Lever were more massive, then this angular velocity measurement, we'd have to measure that more precisely, which we can do, but again, others would have probably cried foul if I was using a heavier lever. So that was, again, there's a lot of kind of decisions that I had to make in setting this up in saying, what are the key things that I want to demonstrate? And what's going to be the most direct way of getting there? And the thing I really wanted to demonstrate was this...
You wanted to do nothing close to what I wanted to demonstrate. So, it's nothing meeting my challenge. Nothing proving that levers don't work exactly as I stated, that they conserve momentum. You broke the experiment to force it to do things I didn't suggest were even in the realm of interesting.
Was this conservation of angular momentum? So, question. Didn't your model claim that the same mass, same velocity would lose half the velocity of the outgoing cart? Yes. For the same mass, same velocity, if I go back to this one, if it's same mass and, I guess some initial velocity, then in the inelastic case, it should be when the cart sticks. So same radius. When the cart sticks, as that object rotates, it should be going with exactly half the velocity. Another way that I was thinking of setting this up, and this would probably be better for the inelastic case as well, is instead of having the lever and the second mass just able to freely move on the cart, just attach that second mass.
All right, he's still predicting it. He still thinks that's going to happen. No way. I mean, it's too ridiculous. I mean, I already did it on my port, so I mean, that part's already confirmed. There's no problem. There's no bounce. You don't need any Velcro, and you do get an even transfer. So what a pile of shit.
To the lever itself, so it can't bounce off. So we get guaranteed that that one stays stuck to the lever. But again, that would have required a much heavier lever, and I didn't want to add that into our into the complication for this one.
I mean, it's what a pile of crap. I mean, who would think to stick it to it? It's just complete nonsense. You can't do it in the first place. You can't stick it to it. You just pointed out how you have carts that have to go on a straight line. You can't do that. It's ridiculous.
Like I said, this is one experiment, lots of trials, and again, my goal with this was looking specifically at that angular momentum value, not specifically getting exactly an elastic and exactly an inelastic, but still using those cases as...
Let's just understand, what's the point of this, right? I mean, all these discussions were about confirming this kinetic energy versus momentum argument. This isn't about angular momentum. It's about what energy went into the lever and what energy comes out. That's all this thing is about. It's not about any angular crap. It's about what goes in, what comes out. I mean, this is such a fucking lying pile of crap.
Here are the bounds that we expect to have for our expected ranges for these carts. Hope this is okay to ask, but in the original discussion, you were talking about inelastic collisions. Well, in the original discussion, it was very, very unclear of what was being requested. Because what was being requested was...
What a lie! I mean, god damn it, I drew it I made a video for him. I drew the fucking lever. I'm showing it. I pointed out to them that there shouldn't be any problem. You just put the card in this side, the other card on the other side. No problems. I mean, what a liar.
The claim that when a cart runs into a lever, a cart that has double the mass at half the distance, when it ejects the second cart, that second cart should be going twice the velocity of the original cart. But the model that was being used to predict that, saying, linear momentum, in fact, not even linear momentum, but the magnitude of those linear momentas should stay the same. So if I've got double the mass at half the distance, and I launch the other cart that has half the mass at twice the distance.
Yeah, that's the experiment you were supposed to do, you lying piece of shit, without a blob of clay on the fucking cart. You fucking moron.
So I think I said that wrong. If I have double the mass at half the distance, and that hits a cart with half the mass at twice the distance, since it's at twice the distance, it should be going 2 times faster, and if it has half the mass, that should be twice the energy. Well, when we did that trial, this was...
Liar. What a fucking liar. You didn't do it, you fucking liar. Oh, man.
It was a trial for twice the mass at half the distance during that impact. And our ratios of...
With a fucking spring, which I overtly stated in the video we spoke person to person, I told you I have no fucking interest in any fucking spring experiments. And you fucking just ignored everything I said the experiment is supposed to be doing, and you just did your own fucking stupid contrived piece of shit experiment. More just lie science. That's all this fucking bullshit is.
Before the trial velocity to the velocities after, in the elastic case, they were pretty close to matching up with what we were expecting. Only 10% off for cart.
Yeah, because you put a spring in the way. Oh, fuck. So let's see, Mindless says, I noticed the bearings for the carbon rod was different. For anyone who might want to replicate this, I'm curious where you got both the pivots. So again, this idea that a fulcrum could make any difference. I mean, what I proved on my porch is it doesn't make any difference. You just need the lever not to move, not to go forward. So just put a nail and put the lever in front of the nail, and that'll work. The lever is going to be under constant pressure. When the object hits the lever is going to be in constant pressure in one direction, and that's all that's going to matter. And all you want to do is be able to freely move in that pressure. The whole time it's pushing carts, it's pushing into the nail. It just couldn't matter. The bearings really couldn't matter.
All the cart 1 values, since these are really close to 0, they do have these exaggerated percent errors, and we're not even worrying about the elastic case for this one, so that one doesn't even matter for this one. But we got pretty good agreement with what actual physics is suggesting. And there is definitely no doubling of the velocity.
Yeah, it's just such a lie. Again, of course you can't have a doubling of the velocity if you reflect the object off the lever. If you reflect it, you bounce it off the lever, well, obviously it can't get the energy in. I mean, duh, if you made a wrecking ball out of a piece of rubber, you're not going to get many buildings knocked down. I mean, god damn. This physics isn't even complicated, and this fucker is pretending he doesn't understand the difference between elastic deformation and elastic complete energy has to stay in the objects. He can't understand what energy losing looks like. Energy losing looks like a reflection or a crushing. Those are places where you didn't transfer the energy. I have to explain that to a fucking physicist?
Doubling of the kinetic energy. But regardless of that, we still have this conservation of angular momentum. And that was true in both of these trials. The second trial was even a little bit of a better match. Again, there's always going to be variation between these different trials. But again, what we measure was only about 7% off in terms of the velocity of what we were expecting for cart 1. So we also went to the 3 times the mass at 1/3 the distance. Again, the alternative model, I'll just kind of leave it at that. The claim that was presented to all of us was that, oh, if it's...
So what a liar. So again, he's pretending this was the experiment I described when I said to him in person, I said to him, I have no interest in spring experiments. I said the words to this motherfucking lying piece of shit. I absolutely know it's going to ruin the experiment. I said it. I pointed it out to him. No interest. It's not going to work. It isn't my experiment. Please, don't do spring experiments. I said it to this fucker. This fucking liar.
It's 3 times the mass at 1/3 the distance. We should get 3 times the energy output. Okay. So this is the elastic case. 3 times the mass at 1/3 the distance. Again, this smaller distance is harder to measure super accurately, so we were limited by that a little bit. But again, we get a pretty good agreement with what physics from a physics textbook predicts. We definitely don't get any sign of any increase in energy in any of these cases. Whether it's the elastic case, whether it's the inelastic case, no matter what masses we're using at what distances, in none of...
What a liar! I mean, what a liar to say he did the experiment. He didn't do the experiment. As I pointed out, it needed to be done. Nothing like the experiment I described. I described an experiment where you just let the cart hit the fucking lever, okay, and you put the cart on the other side and let it get launched by the lever. That's what I described, you lying sack of fucking shit.
Of those cases, did we ever get an increase in kinetic energy, in the total energy of the system? And in none of those cases were our measured velocity ratios outside of the expected ranges. Whether we're using springs, whether we're using clay for the bumpers, whether we are... using one of these mass and distance ratios that seem balanced.
Clay as the bumpers. He's calling clay a fucking bumper. Who makes a bumper? A bumper is supposed to bounce things off. A bumper is a bouncer, not a fucking absorber. You don't call clay a bouncer. You don't call it a bumper. What a fucking pile of shit, lying sack of shit. So even the Ian Gosling is now playing devil's advocate. Yeah. I think Gary is claiming adding the clay to ensure the free kinetic energy that should appear is absorbed. Basically, you cheated it. Yes, that's exactly what I'm claiming. He, deliberately and willfully cheated the experiment. He put this piece of clay on there because it wasn't working his way. Like I said, he originally had a little spongy thing. The little spongy thing would have been a hell of a lot better than a big fat blob of stupid fucking Play-Doh. I know it, you know it, he knows it, and you're all saying cheers to a bunch of lies and deception. This is your science. It's dependent on lying. That's what it needs to do. It has to lie, distort, exaggerate, pervert. It can't be honest about a motherfucking thing. You're just showing you have no integrity. You're lower than the creepiest religious kook.
Like 3 times the mass at a third the distance. We did other trials that did not have that kind of balance. So this was equal mass at half the distance. Again, we got very good agreement with what physics predicts. And as far as I'm aware, there was no prediction, not even as far as I could tell, not even a way of making a prediction using the alternative model.
What the fuck? Amazing. I said, why would I do a prediction when you're not transferring the energy? There's no point. But of course I could predict a spring is going to end up basically putting half the energy in a reflection and half the energy into the lever, generally speaking. But who the fuck cares? I told you right from the beginning, I have absolutely no interest in doing an experiment that has nothing to do with comparing momentum to kinetic energy. And that has nothing to do with it.
To ordinary physics.
What a liar.
So again, those are some of the things that I want to point out. One thing that I wish I would have done differently, a case I wish I would have done, is instead of having twice the mass hit at half the distance and launching the cart, I wish I would have done a case where it was a 1 mass, let me kind of map out this case that I wish I would have done as an example. A 1 mass where the second mass is the one that's twice the mass, and that one's at half the distance. So cart 2, the one...
No, what you should have done is you should have, in the second trial, you should have moved your little timer gates. You should have flipped them to the other direction. That way you could find out whether your stupid timing mechanism is actually accurate. Because frankly, that's another accusation I'll make. It's pretty clear in 4 of your cases you made free momentum. More momentum came out than went in. All right. And there's every indication it's because, guess what? One of your timers isn't doing the same time. It's not ticking at the same timing rate as your other one. Your velocities aren't accurate.
One being launched is the one with twice the mass at half the distance. Because again, the alternative model that was kind of mentioned would have predicted a significant decrease in the total energy of the system. Again, using that erroneous model of using linear momentum instead of angular momentum.
And obviously that would happen. You can't get around that one. So he's going to pretend he can do the, add weight to a 5-ton train, make it a 10-ton train, and not lose half the kinetic energy. Of course you will. I was just drawing the other day. You can probably see it on the bottom of this board. I just drew it as an example, but it says, oh yeah, it's another argument against these assholes. As you could, if I wish I still had my pool table. From when I was a kid, but yeah, you can knock 2 balls that are going a speed into another third ball, and the fact is, if you hit them just right, this ball will leave with twice the velocity, which means it'll have double the kinetic energy, double of the total that these 2 had. So if you add up these 2, this is going to have twice what they had as a total. So you're making free kinetic energy again, and that's such a simple example.
And yeah, I kind of wish I would have done that example to show that, no, in the elastic case, the energy is still very close to being conserved. It's not creating energy.
Oh, what a pile of shit if he thinks that's going to work. No fucking chance. That's a 100% free momentum experiment. So he thinks he can do the 100% free momentum experiment. Please do it, okay, you lying sack of dirty shit. You just said you want to do it, so let's go ahead and prove your point there. Let's go see that one happen. You fucking lying sack of shit. You're going to fail all over the goddamn place. You can't do it with a spring, so let me just point that out ahead of time. There's no chance you'll be able to do it with a spring.
It's not destroying energy. But I only thought of that example as I was kind of finishing up the editing, and again, I'm good on levers. I did 26 trials of this.
Yeah, 26 nonsensical, pointless trials. 13 of them right on the bat are useless clay blobs, stupid deformation experiments. You're trying to convert the energy from one object to the other object, and you put a deformer right in the middle. Oh, that's just too fucking brilliant.
Good on levers for the next little while. I want to do... I want to do some other experiments, and if there are any recommendations for experiments, I've got a couple of things lined up, but those are some things that I want to do.
Yeah, grow a brain, some balls, grow some balls. So do a grow balls experiment. All right, how about some integrity? Why don't you make a little integrity meter and, try it on yourself and see if you have any fucking integrity, you lying sack of shit.
To quickly mention. And again, in all these cases, going back to, again, that alternative model saying, oh, it's the magnitudes of the linear momentas that matter. In any of the cases where...
Yeah, what matters is what goes in and what comes out of an experiment. I can't believe I have to argue that with people that can, figure out how to stand up straight. You mean you don't understand that the experiment's about the input and the output of an experiment. You don't understand that that's the fucking thing we're interested in. Does the experiment, is it functioning based on momentum, or is it functioning based on kinetic energy? And the way to figure that out is to throw something into your little experimental box and then see what the box throws the fuck back out. I mean, this couldn't be any fucking simpler. Oh, it's just disgusting. I have to defend that logic. Let's see, Mindless Marvel says, so what were your thoughts on the suggestion of doing the case with the hard elastic collision? So there's no point in saying hard elastic, because he doesn't understand what hard elastic is. He has no idea what that means. That is attaching something like ball bearings for contact. There you go, my suggestion. That's what I'm going to do. I have these little stupid plastic things, and they're not very elastic. Okay, not elastic enough. So I'm going to melt a ball bearing into them. Yeah, see if that'll work. Oh, scum.
Our values don't match. In fact, let me pull up the. Sorry, I want to switch this around because I don't want to accidentally show something on the screen that has private information. Yeah. Where do I have the experiment for that? Sorry about this delay. Okay. So this model here, saying we've got this conservation of angular momentum. In the case where R1 and R2 are the same and the bar is of negligible mass, in that particular case, let me move this around a little bit so we can see both simultaneously. In that particular case, you might, again, think that the original mass times the original velocity, mass 1 times the velocity before the collision equals mass 1 times the velocity after the collision, mass 2 times the velocity of object 2 after the collision. In the case where those radii are the same, you might erroneously think that, oh...
He's doing the same thing he did in the other video. He's trying to argue that when it perfectly converts, that is, the energy comes in one way, and the same exact momentum comes out the other side, that somehow we shouldn't be fooled that the energy was merely transferred from this object into this object. No, that didn't happen. Somehow we lost all the momentum. There is no momentum. It all got destroyed. So even though you have a perfect conversion, I mean, you did exactly what momentum conservation would argue, is that you put 100 in, you got 100 back out. No, that's a complete destruction of the momentum. I mean, amazing, absolute bullshit. And this is your fucking science. This is what you call fucking science. Fuck.
This magnitude of the linear momentum matching up, that might have some merit to it. But that is immediately discarded as soon as you have any case where those R values are not the same. If those R values are not the same, which is, again, the majority of cases, you're not going to get that linear momentum, especially the magnitude of the linear momentum. They are...
What a liar. So he didn't do the experiment, right? He just didn't. And I pointed out right from the beginning, you do have to get the placement of the objects just right. It won't work if it's a little short, if it's a little too far. If you make the balance unbalanced, all right? So if you put your 5 mass, you got a 10 mass over here, and you're going to move your 5 mass where it's balanced. It really has to be at the balance point. If it's a little short, then you're going to be trying to push something that's too light that it thinks is lighter than it is. And if it's too far away, it's going to think it's heavier than it actually is, and it's not going to be able to push it at the higher velocity. So in either case, if you're short or you're too far away, you're either going to cause a reflection of the energy, or you're going to cause the object not to go nearly as fast.
Not going to match up. You can go through the data yourself and check any of these, but yeah, that model does not match up with experiments. And when we're doing physics, when we were doing science, the whole idea for science is...
So what the fuck, in the last sentence or two, did you see? He says, I see, appreciate the explanation. That would be cool. What? Well, maybe he hasn't said that part yet.
We are going to build models of nature that are able to make predictions about the outcomes of experiments. And then we test those. We have to test those ideas. Until we test those ideas, any model that's proposed is simply a claim.
Right, that's all you got. 4 times the energy, go twice as fast. Just a fucking claim. 9 times the energy, go 3 times as fast. Just a fucking claim. 3 times the velocity, 9 times the damage. Just a fucking claim. Just fucking bullshit. You never proved it. You never showed it. 350 years of talking this shit, and you haven't shown a goddamn bowler knocking down more pins with a lighter ball going twice as fast. None of it. None of it proven, none of it shown, no fucking evidence. The very fact that we have to do lever experiments demonstrates your science is completely and fundamentally unevidenced. Unevidenced bullshit claims.
Claims aren't evidence. I'm actually finishing putting together some notes on a video that will come out next week on claims versus evidence, and go into more of the details, go into some thoughts on this.
Why don't you do it based on fact versus lying scum? And you're a lying scumbag. You're just a lying motherfucking scumbag. This experiment was a piece of goddamn shit. It is nothing like I described. It's just a big, fake, phony piece of shit for you to say you proved a goddamn motherfucking thing, you lying piece of shit scientist. Doctor of lying fucker.
But again, claims are not evidence. If you want to say that you have a model that predicts some phenomenon, you have to actually use that. You have to actually get data to support your claim. You have to demonstrate that it actually matches.
When did you do that? When did you prove it takes 9 times the fuel to go 3 times as fast? Where did you fucking prove it, you fucking liar? Oh, pathetic.
Stuff with experiments. That's what I tried to do, at least in these 26 different trials.
Bullshit you tried to. You tried to evade the experiment. The blob of clay is proof. Again, he had a little tiny spongy thing on there before, some sort of a rubber thing to protect his cart. Okay? Why did he transition to the big fucking deformable blob of clay? The only logical explanation is because the experiment wasn't going his way.
Yeah, for anyone who wants to test out some of these ideas, there's the data. It's again available in the videos. I tried to put in chapters so it's easily to find, but you can check the numbers yourself. Check to make sure that I'm not cheating with these measurements of initial...
Yes, go ahead, please. Somebody do the frame rate on the videos where he made the free momentum, because I don't think those velocity numbers are going to be right.
And final angular momentum. Make sure that in the elastic cases, I'm not cheating with these measurements of the initial energy and the final kinetic energy of the system. So there's another comment. Notice the bearing for the carbon rod was different. The setup that I had for the carbon rod, I found that in the other holder that I had, I couldn't really get it fixed in place very well. It was also kind of thicker. So in this direction, when I was trying to do the hits that were close to the bar, if I had that holder that I previously was using, this track was so close to here that it was interacting with this. I couldn't anchor it in place. It was causing a couple of headaches.
Yeah, the anchoring's really, that's why I used a sledgehammer. You really do have to make sure it's not against wood or books or some other kind of bullshit that actually does move. Any movement in the fulcrum is a real bad idea. So you have to make sure it really is immovable.
So I put together this other setup. It was basically a pulley. Let me actually quickly grab this. I've taken this apart, but basically it was a pulley, and I took the carbon fiber rod. This isn't the same one. This one isn't the one that has the spots on it. But basically, I just fixed that to the pulley on one side of the pulley. I don't have the kind of equipment that I need to actually drill through this rod, but just to kind of highlight this. even if I would have drilled a hole, been able to drill a hole, like had the equipment to drill a hole through that pulley and put this on top, where the thing hits is not directly exactly centered on that axis. So putting on this side and saying it's hitting on this side, that leading edge is still really close to that pulley. It's still really close to that center axis. So those few millimeters that it's off by.
All right, well, see, all of this is moot if they did a few of these experiments, because again, the point is you don't have to do any of that crap. Ideally, you want to make the little triangle fulcrum. You want the fulcrum to be as tiny a spot. You want the turning radius to be on the tiniest spot possible. So the idea would be, I found out that the real perfect thing to do is take a tiny steel wire and then put a tiny little, scrape a little groove in the lever and then let those two sit on each other, and that's about as perfect as you can get in terms of making it as small a surface as possible. That's the whole real point. And because the point is the whole experiment takes place with the lever being pushed in one direction. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be a bearing. It just needs to be able to turn side to side freely.
I wasn't very concerned about that one. It would cause a tiny, tiny change in this moment of inertia, it not being exactly centered on there. But again, that would be like a 1 or 2% error on this moment of inertia of the bar. And as we kind of looked at, the moment of inertia of the bar doesn't have a significant effect. Doesn't have a very large effect. It's already at like changing it by a couple percent. So that would be like 1% of 1% error.
Again, I'll just point out the whole fucking, every time he says angular momentum, he's talking about the angular momentum of the lever after the carts have left. They're not even connected to it anymore. It's just the motion still in the lever. The leftover unusable energy that you have to lose to the fact that the lever's got to do the pushing, and it can't push and then just stop all by itself. It has to keep moving. The momentum it has, it keeps. Its momentum, it keeps. And measuring its momentum is useless.
And yeah, I encourage people to try this experiment themselves. This one took quite a bit of effort to do, especially since I basically had to do it twice since my computer failed for the first one, and then some people were requesting changes on it. So again, I did try to put a lot of effort into this, and I hope that I presented a
lot of effort contriving a fake experiment that didn't address my experiment at all. My experiment was non-existent in this experiment, and you're pretending you have in some way indicated I was incorrect or that my model fails when the experiment isn't testing my model. You lying piece of shit.
Reasonable case for this idea of conservation of angular momentum. A couple other things. Again, I'm just waiting to see when more questions come up, because these questions are great so far.
Yeah, there's a big pile of them you haven't read yet. Fucktard.
For these percent differences, there are different ways of calculating whether you want percent difference or percent error. And this is something that I kind of went back and forth on, figuring out what is the best and most reasonably accurate way of identifying when we have how much errors we're dealing with for these velocities. And in the case where we have, let me switch one thing around here just so I can pull up something to write on. Do this now. When we have a percent difference, that's when I don't have a really good, I'm comparing two values, but I'm not confident that one is the true value and the other one is less reliable. I don't have a high reliability on either one. So the percent difference is usually the magnitude of the difference over the average of the two quantities. Whereas percent error is, let's say I'm doing an experiment, I have a particular kind of measurement.
The funny thing is, right, back in August when I was talking about this, I predicted 90%. You should be able to get 90%. You should be able to transfer 90% of the energy, right? 10% losses. Not error, 10% losses. But, just pointing out, what a pile of shit.
I have a particular measurement. Sorry, I was just reading a comment there for a second. For percentage error, we're saying I have a particular measurement from my experiment, but I've got a different value, an independently measured value, that I think has a much higher reliability, a much higher confidence in that. So the percent error for this would be the difference between your true and expected values divided by the true value. So I went kind of back and forth on which one to do because in these values, like I said, I wasn't really expecting to get a perfectly elastic collision or a completely inelastic collision. So I wasn't really expecting to get that, which is why I went with the percent difference rather than the percent error. The problem with that is in this percent error value, let me pull that screen back up. Let's say I'm measuring two values. Let's say one value is 0.5. Let's actually make it really small, so 0.05, something like that, something very close to 0. And let's say the value that I actually got was negative 0.02. Well, that negative, when we take the average between those,
what the fuck happened?
let me change this to negative 0.03 so the average is either. The average between those is 0.01. So if I take the difference between those, which is 0.08 divided by 0.01 and then multiply by 100%, this would give me 800% error. When I have two numbers that are straddling 0, a positive number and a negative number, this percent difference calculation, it gives you very, very high error values. And what I was trying to kind of emphasize in the video is that when we get these completely different directions, yeah, these values that we're getting here, especially for the cart 1, which is going to be moving pretty slow after the collision, and again, sometimes moving forward, sometimes moving backwards, this is where we just expect to get ridiculously high errors on this one. So again, for the measured versus the inelastic, when we do that difference divided by the average between those two, this gives us ridiculously high percentage errors. I think instead, if I were to do this again...
anyone else fall asleep? I mean, fuck.
One of the things that I would have done instead is make a measure of where in between the perfectly elastic case and the completely inelastic case, where did our measurement fall for these cart velocities? You know, we can make a measure like that and scale it. So 1 would be it's exactly the elastic case. 0 would be it's the exactly the inelastic case.
So he's saying inelastic when he's really trying to describe elastic, but with hard. But he didn't do that. So again, it just doesn't make any sense. There's two different elastics. There's spring elastic and then there's hard elastic. Inelastic is useless. There is no point in doing deformation experiments. You cannot convert the energy from one object to the other object if you are bending or denting anything. So you don't want to be permanently bending or denting anything. So why would we even talk about an inelastic case, whatever the fuck that would be? Oh, shit.
And if I was outside of that range of 0 to 1, we would know, oh, that value falls outside the expected range. That would be disconfirming evidence for this physics model. It would be a way of disproving that model. Again, we didn't get any cases where we had any cars outside this expected range, but you know, I might actually put together a shortened version of this and just have trial analysis, and just really go through this quickly because I know this video is very, very long. And I might put in a variation on the analysis like that. Since again, I know the video is very, very long.
Yeah. Why don't you do the thing that I said from the very beginning? All we want to know is what's the momentum and what's the kinetic energy of the carts going in, and what's the momentum and kinetic energy of the carts going out. Fuck you, and the rest of this crap is just that crap. It doesn't have anything to do with the discussion between kinetic energy and momentum. You're just trying to figure out which one runs the universe, momentum or kinetic energy. And the rest of your crappy bullshit is just that crappy bullshit, just intended to distract and prevent people from understanding what the fuck the argument actually is. You're just such a fucking weaselly lying sack of shit.
Got a little out of hand, but I did 26 trials, so. Okay, so comment playing devil's advocate. All right. I think there's a claim that by adding clay, you ensure the free kinetic energy should appear and is absorbed, and basically I cheated it. Sure, that's the claim. Yeah, the clay was there to make sure that the carts were equal mass. There wasn't very much clay on there.
What a liar! So I don't complain about using the clay as a mass indicator. We're talking about using the clay as you called it a bumper. And to say there wasn't much clay on there is just ludicrous. It's a big, giant, pointy blob of clay. What the fuck are you talking about? I mean, how could he lie like this? That the clay was for the weight. You were using it to absorb the energy, and it clearly did exactly that. You had experiments where 69% of the energy was not transferred to anything. It didn't go back in as a reflection, didn't do anything. Because it was destroyed by your fucking bumper.
I think maybe like 20 or 25 grams in total in the most extreme cases. Even for some of the carts where the mass is...
I can't believe this is sincere. I can't believe this is anything like sincere. No physicist could be this fucking stupid. Nobody could have a doctorate in physics and be so stupid as to argue, well, it was only 25 grams of clay that were getting smushed, permanently deforming. how could that use up anything called momentum? I mean, how could deforming clay use up energy? I mean, you don't need energy to deform clay. I mean, clay moves for free, doesn't it? I mean, everybody knows. Professor Lewin says so. Clay is great. Clay is the magical substance. You just smear it on stuff and do whatever you want. It's fantastic. Even Ian Gosling loves clay. And clay is great. It can't be. He just can't. He's either fucking so goddamn stupid or so goddamn dishonest. But he's one of them. He's either a fucking moron and doesn't know it takes energy to deform clay, or he's just such a fucking liar.
Weren't exactly the same. Generally, instead of just using clay, I put extra masses on top of it. So you can actually see these masses down here. Of course, there's something that the claim is off, but yeah, like I've said before, well, basically, I am no longer interested in his commentary. He's demonstrated himself to be dishonest.
Oh man, you're so fucked, buddy. All right, one of us is going down. All right, you're such a fucking lie. How dare you lie about what I have said and what I did, you fucking cunt. You have no goddamn right to be this pretentious jackass and say you fucking did anything honest here. God damn it, I just can't believe what scum walks this fucking planet. You are fucking scum. You lying piece of shit.
Honest, and I'm just literally not interested anymore. I do want to...
I'm damn interested, fucker. I'm going to be on every fucking word you say, all right? I'm going to haunt you, period. All right? You're not going to get away with being this lying sack of shit on the internet. I mean, it's outrageous that you can do this, you pompous, arrogant little weaselly prick. How the fuck dare you talk your shit, all right, like it's some kind of truth. You're such a fucking liar.
Apologize. I did kind of block him from the channel. Again, just some of the stuff.
Yeah, why all your ragged shit commenters just keep lying, telling lie stories about, oh, there was a laser experiment and he spent $4,000 to buy a laser, but he never did the experiment, blah, blah, blah. When, yeah, there's a video on my channel showing me doing the experiment and finding out that, shit, you shoot a laser 500 or 600 yards and guess what? It ain't a spot this big anymore. It's a spot this big. Fucking asshole.
He was coming out with recently was the last of a great many straws. And again, if he can't honestly, be an honest interlocutor. And
fuck you. You're the dishonest motherfucking lying piece of shit cunt, and I've proved it. For the record, I've got the videos up. I played the goddamn clips. It's clear I had no interest in spring experiments, and it's doubly clear I had no interest in crushing clay. You fucking liar.
And keep away from just slurs of insults, then I'm just not interested. But I do apologize to those of you who were... I do apologize to those of you who had comments up in one of those chains. Those apparently got...
He keeps apologizing to fucking trolls who are doxing me, which is amazing. So they keep hiding my personal information in their comments, and this motherfucking asshole, instead of just blocking them, keeps trying to point out, well, you shouldn't do that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. They're going to keep doing it, asshole, until you punish them for doing it, you dumb fuck. God, you're stupid.
Removed. My apologies for that. So, again, my apologies for anyone who was...
apologizing to fucking trolls. Brilliant.
Involved in a conversation that got removed for that. So the hard elastic collisions... I played around with that a little bit. I basically put some rounded screws on the end of these carts, but what I was getting from my results was pretty much the same as using the elastics. And
oh, what a liar! I mean, you put screws on there, and it did the same as the clay. It deformed and wasted 50% of the energy. Yeah, the screws deformed and wasted all the energy. What a fucking liar!
In order to affix them to the fronts of the carts, I was having a hard time doing that as well. Again,
Oh, I can't believe this liar. Okay, I guess can't. Play this lie again. What a fucking liar.
is pretty much the same as you.
Oh, let me go back a little further. What a fucking liar.
I played around with that a little bit. I basically put some.
So he played around with different objects on the front of the cart to convey energy, to create a hard elastic. And he's arguing that they didn't work any better than clay. I mean, who can take this seriously, this nonsense this shit-talking fucker is saying? Amazing. They all deformed like the clay. They were weak bolts. You know, some bolts are really soft and they just deform and yeah, you lose all the energy. So yeah, it didn't matter.
Some rounded screws on the end of these carts, but what I was getting from my results was pretty much the same as using the elastics. And
yeah, the spring. Oh, so why didn't you keep doing it then? I don't know. Why wouldn't you keep using it and prove the point? Why? That it didn't matter. The spring didn't matter. Why wouldn't that be a good experiment to show that the spring doesn't matter? It's irrelevant. You don't need a spring. Right? See how dishonest this is? I mean, clearly, if he did the experiment without a spring and got the same results, he just said it got the same results. Right? He's lying. He didn't get the same results. He's a fucking liar. If he got the same results, he would have shown that, because that would be a huge piece of evidence on their side. It doesn't even matter whether there's a spring or not. It still does exactly the same thing.
In order to affix them to the fronts of the carts.
That's what their physics says should happen. Their formula isn't a spring formula. Their formula is for elastic, period. It should work without a spring. That would demonstrate, see, it works exactly like we predicted without a spring. And he didn't show us that, and he didn't do that? What a liar. What a fucking liar.
I was having a hard time doing that as well. Again, I don't really want to drill into these carts or do anything like that. So trying to get those metal pieces attached, I had to kind of put clay around it to hold it in place.
Oh, brother. I mean, what a pile of shit. He can't think of anything to stick a bolt, like even masking tape. What would the difference be? A little bit of masking tape. So if there was a little piece of tape around the ball bearing, it wouldn't make any difference to the experiment. A tiny bit of crushing of masking tape would be a tiny bit of energy. So what a fucking liar.
But that would lead to another kind of issue with the clay thing. So I figured the springs would be the best case for that. Again, in future experiments, one of the things that I'm thinking of doing is setting up doing an experiment with like a giant Newton's cradle. So try to make one as large as possible so we can actually do those unequal mass cases. Look at how momentum as a vector is conserved in those.
Well, we know already people have done that, okay? And giant Newton's cradles don't work. So don't bother. There's a certain size you can get to, about, 10 pounds. And then it stops working. Because the impacts are too hard. It can't get hard enough steel. It dents. It flattens.
And how energy is conserved. So yes, I did try setting it up in that way, but like I said, there were...
Who believes this? Who believes this? I mean, you're really going to fall for this crap? That he tried it and he found that clay was the best solution. You want to make something stick? Yeah, clay's the way to go. Clay. I mean, you almost couldn't come up with a worse thing to put on the front of the cart to create an elastic collision. That is, sticky inelastic, if you want to use his terms. You couldn't come up with something worse.
Other complications, and it wasn't really seeming to give a whole lot better results probably because of how I was trying to affix it to that, how I was trying to affix it to the carts.
Lying bullshit.
Again, in maybe a couple of months or maybe in
a year or two or whenever, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, I'll do my experiment probably before then. I have to do it in here, though, because, yeah, it doesn't... Outside is too much wind. But anyway, so it ain't gonna happen tomorrow. But fuck you.
The new year or something like that, I'd love to do another experiment like this where instead of maybe using a lever, use like a wheel or something like that. And then have something on the wheel where something can come in, hit it, and bounce off, like a more of a swing thing like that.
Why would you do that? Why don't you do a gear? You know, where you turn the gear and somehow the thing twice as far out doesn't go twice as fast. Why don't you make a catapult, frankly?
But again, I'm good on levers for at least the next couple months. There's other stuff I'd like to be doing instead of that. But again, I'm always open to ideas on what other things to try. Always like hearing constructive.
You're always a slandering, lying, weaselly sack of motherfucking goddamn putsy little shit. All right, and it's just outrageous that you get away with that crap, you fucker. You evaded the fucking questions I asked. You evaded every single question I've asked. You haven't answered with a straight answer. You're just an evasive liar, propagandist, faker, and phony. Damn it. And human beings with a brain should find it vomit-worthy, your fucking behavior.
Criticism and feedback, and yeah, I do value that, because again, that's part of the scientific process. That's part of what I want to emphasize in this channel, using the best methods. And
yeah, talking to these morons. Some of them are free willers, some of them are loop-de-doo complete nutters, and he's wasting his time on them.
Trying to test your ideas in as accurate a way as possible, and then seeing if the models that you're proposing actually match with experiments. So, okay. Other questions about these?
I guess nobody showed up, so we bailed.
I'm looking over here a bit. My dog is in the corner over here, just making sure that she's doing okay. She actually did make a tiny little cameo for about 5 seconds in the video. Just as I'm waiting for comments, I'll... There you can see dog. Shameless using my dog as a prop to, just be cute on here. So, yeah, she did get into the video.
Creepy little poofy piece of shit. Better looking then.
I didn't notice that she was in the background of the video for like, just a couple of seconds until later on, but yeah, she's cute. But anyway, so again,
So he's just come on. I'm willing to make some more shit and lie some more. Anybody got some more lies to provoke me into making?
Any other questions or comments? Ideas on?
When do you think you'll prove that 9 times the fuel to go 3 times as fast thing? Do you think you can get around to that by the new year? You think you got any taste for that experiment, or you're all full up on that one too? Why not prove that one? Or the 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. Why don't you work on that one?
Other kinds of experiments to do. Some of the things that I've got coming up for this, like I said, I'm just finishing up writing, and I'll probably record it today or tomorrow, a video on the difference between claims and evidence.
He's saying it again, right in the face of, you've made a bunch of claims and you don't have any evidence. You made claims. You said that if we put a equal object in and we put another object over here at the same distance, that one of them will bounce with half the energy and the other one will go half the speed. And it didn't happen in your own fucking experiment, you fucking lying sack of shit. Oh, you're just such a fucking liar.
Again, highlighting a couple of key things there. I'm planning on doing a video having to do with the buoyant force, Archimedes' principle, and putting some ideas like that to the test, including how Newton...
Why don't you do what Charlotte did? She dropped things into water, okay, and saw how much water was displaced based on the velocity. Why don't you do that experiment? Why don't you do round things into, since you have the Play-Doh handy, why don't you drop round things into clay and tell us how physics says that's the way you detect how much energy it has? Why don't you do that experiment, you lying piece of shit, faker, phony?
Newton's third law applies to buoyant forces. There's a bunch of others that I kind of have on my short list, but if there's any other ideas on topics that people would like covered, then...
M80's up your butt, fucker. Why don't you try that experiment? See how much of it stays inside and how much of the explosion blows out the hole. Yeah, why don't you test that?
Yeah, always let me know. Either in comments, again, I try to read a lot of the comments, or my YouTube email is listed on the About page. But yeah, any last questions before? Otherwise, we'll call this good for today.
I guess that's it.
Again, I don't know exactly how long the delay is, but if anything comes up as I'm kind of making these closing remarks, we'll just keep going a little bit. But as always, thank you for the view. You know, appreciate the support that a lot of you have given, and
yes, support for doing the experiment I didn't suggest, and then claiming you proved me wrong. So yes, the trolls are very happy that you did another fake experiment under fake premises, arguing things I didn't argue, okay, to completely show that you people have zero integrity. Just fucking no integrity at all. Like Ian Gosling hiding the clay experiment that proved me right. You know, you're just so dishonest. You just, oh, disgusting dishonesty. Disgusting. Disgusting. Disgusting.
especially appreciate it when, you know, there's ideas on new kinds of experiments, you know, ways of improving those experiments. Especially some of those of you who have done your own experiments and tried that out. You know, that's always great to see. I want to encourage that with my channel as well.
Right. I want to encourage you to do more propaganda videos based on terrible physics theory. So, yes, drop round things into clay, because I won't explain to you how that's not going to work. Denting clay with round objects will not show you how much energy something has. Why don't you do that? I mean, he's such a weak putz, right? I mean, the challenge is, why one of my 5-minute videos is on the exact subject, so go ahead. Why don't you tell the world that Leibniz was right, okay, that lifting 4 pounds 1 foot is the same energy as lifting 1 pound 4 feet? Why don't you explain how that's logically correct? And then you can explain how D. Chatelet was right, that because you can displace a little bit more clay, by dropping round things, you know, a higher velocity round thing into the clay, it will displace maybe 4 times the space. Well, that's because it's round. So why don't you explain how round surfaces are the same as flat surfaces? That that shooting a bow and arrow with an arrow that has a dull flat point is exactly the same as shooting one with a point on it. Why don't you explain that great physics of yours? I mean, this great fucking physics that you're bandwagoning for, that's just made out of lies and false premises. God damn, you people do fucking goddamn suck.
You know, again, don't believe me. You know, don't just take what I say and say...
Well, you sit there and say it arrogantly. You say it right here in your fucking text. You're saying, yes, I've done it so highly accurate and everything is so perfect, and yes, they're totally annihilated because I totally destroyed their argument with my fucking fake, contrived pile of shit lie experiment. And he is fucking lying. The bolts were the bolt did exactly the same thing as the spring did. Well, why don't you show us that? That would be an interesting piece of data. Why isn't that data in the fucking video?
Okay, I guess that's right. You know, look at the evidence that supports anyone's claim.
Yeah, look at the evidence for 9 times the energy to go 3 times as fast. Go look for the evidence of the 8-pound bowling ball going twice as fast, knocking down twice as many pins. Go look for the fucking evidence. Go look for the evidence of the bullet that does 2,000 times the work in the universe that the fucking recoil of the gun does. Go look at the evidence that NASA uses this fucking illogical goddamn kinetic energy to navigate when, well, you'll find out no, it doesn't. I mean, what a fucking pile of shit, this fucking liar, propagandizing motherfucker.
Anyone is making a claim, you always want to ask, what is the data that actually supports this idea? And the best way of doing that is yeah, the best way of doing that is actually trying the experiments for yourselves and learning these methods of how do we actually test ideas.
Yeah, I'll do the Eddington experiment myself. I'll fly to space and take a picture of a goddamn star. I spend 5 minutes up there doing it. With my own little NASA program. What a pile of shit. Let's do the experiments the shittiest way possible because, well, that's the only way to keep religion alive, right? Is to fake it. Do this shitty stuff. I'll pray to God, and God, please don't let me get crushed by a meteor in the next 2 minutes. Let's see if my prayer will be answered. Yeah, let's see if in the next 2 minutes if I don't get crushed by a meteor, obviously God save me.
And apply this scientific critical thinking.
Oh yeah, this is scientific. Lies, deception, hyperbole, fake, phony, contrived crap. That's your fucking science. You fucking scum.
But again, thank you as always for the view, and yeah, have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, fuck you. Get what you fucking deserve, you lying piece of shit. Ugh. God damn it, I hate this planet. Alright, so that's probably enough of a video. So at least I did get my technical problem fixed. Let's go to the beginning. I missed the very beginning, so let's do that over. I should be able to play the beginning. Alright. Falling asleep. You should like play some intro music maybe, or that's your favorite song, right? I'm a scummy liar. I'm a scummy liar. I lie on the internet. I like trolls who lie on the internet.
Not con-
Technology.
that it's live yet, so
Let's try something.
Hello, is this coming through? Because again, my system is saying it's still like going live. Is this actually coming through?
Apparently it is. Yeah. So I guess you had
There's a bit of a delay on this. So.
wait for a retarded troll to show up to say yes. There it is. Hello. Yes. Johnny Walker, the idiot who believes hot peppers are magnetic and create free energy.
That's going to weird me out since that's still got like a processing thing. But yeah, so we'll see if we get some more people on this. But basically, I wanted to have a bit of opportunity to go through some of the
preposterous lies you said about me, my model, and your fucking creepy shit boron fucking experiment that had nothing to do with what I argued. Okay, yeah. Swell.
Things that I thought went well about this lever experiment, some things that, I...
Well, that is where I started, so who cares? Alright. God damn it, what a liar. Hey, the streaming thing isn't... It's gone again. Oh, fuck. It's crashed? No, there it is. I don't know why it's here, though. It shouldn't be over here. Well, who knows? Yeah, who knows if it's live. Alright, well, we'll end the stream and we'll just have to hope for the best. Fucking internet. Is lower than the recommended bit rate. Well, I'm not going to open any widgets, so fuck you. Yeah, it's really enough. Just trying to see if there's some indication of a failure here. See, the original failure was from OBS, and I had to go through all kinds of crap. Linux. But anyway, it does seem to be working. So, don't know if I'll bother doing live videos, but there's nothing in the chat. I wonder, what I need is, 9 viewers. Okay, so that's something. It says 12 now. So, there's 12 people here, there must be something happening if there's 12 people. Yeah, so it must be a video if there's 12 people here. They couldn't have showed up just randomly. Hey, I didn't get hit by a meteor. Holy shit, there is a God. Holy crap, I proved it with my great experiment. I've proven there is a God. Aren't you all happy that science can prove things like that by doing fake experiments that have nothing to do with the subject, that aren't going to get to the fucking point, and are just totally nonsense? So let's all do some nonsense experiments that prove absolutely nothing. That makes a lot of sense. Oh, it says the chat rate went up, but there's no chat. I guess I have to change it from top chat to live chat. No, still no chat. So I don't know why I have a 1 on my chat rate. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, this is so fucking funny. I don't know why it says 40 views here, so I don't know if that's 40 different people. I don't know. There's no point. The whole internet is so bad. I mean, I just can't, you know, YouTube won't play my embedded YouTube videos anymore from my website. So I guess they've blocked my website for some reason, and I can't play embedded videos on the website. It's just, you know, besides the fact that you can't get indexed in the search engines, I mean, it's no internet anymore. I mean, the internet's not getting bigger, it's getting smaller and smaller. It's just all going to be controlled by Twitter and Facebook, and, you know, and that's it. The little tiny net is all there's going to be. Everything else will just be some kind of peripheral crap that people pointlessly think there's a point in publishing on the internet, but there's no point in publishing on the internet because no one can get to it. Amazing bullshit. Amazing what you scummy people have allowed to happen to the internet. You gave it away to a bunch of, you know, self-interested rich fucks. It's just more evidence that, God, people suck. They just suck. Alright, I'm done. So who knows what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to make more 5-minute videos, I think, and I'm just going to keep saying, hey, I offered these people, you know, Simon Dan just did a fucking video where he took sponsorship from some silly news website, and it's only got like 5,000 subscribers or something. So we know they didn't pay him much, right? How much could they have paid him? $500,000 at the most. I offered him more than that to debunk me, and he wouldn't do it. Fucking piece of scum. All right, anyway. Yeah, so. Oh, God. Just hate people. Just hate them, hate them, hate them. People suck so bad. It's so sad that they have to suck so bad and such.